This is Rohit from Jammu and Kashmir, and we are here to make a presentation on our flagship program, Back to Village, which is an extraordinary and a unique outreach initiative. Now, this program is the result of the efforts of a large number of people, led by our Chief Secretary, current Chief Secretary, Dr. Arun Kumar Mehta, and then myself as Principal Secretary, and then our Rural Development Department, and a host of others. But I'm just representing the group and making the presentation on their behalf. Now, since we have a time limit, I will not go into all the videos that I have. Now, this is the Honorable Prime Minister talking about this initiative in his speech on the independence, on the occasion of Independence Day 2020. Now, this is Back to Village. This is the only program which is not a central scheme or a centrally sponsored scheme, which was mentioned specifically by the Honorable Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech. Now, what is Back to Village and what is so unique about it? At its very basic level, this is a scheme whereby all the gazetted officers of the village go to the panchayats of the village. Now, what are the salient features of this? I will just explain this. Now, this is what Back to Village is. Every Gram Panchayat of Jammu and Kashmir is visited by at least one gazetted officer. Every visiting officer spends 2 days and a night in the panchayat. So you have every officer from Jammu and Kashmir visiting the panchayat, and every panchayat being visited by an officer. This is one. Two, every visiting officer spends a night in the panchayat, which means he or she necessarily spends 2 days in the panchayat. Three, during his visit, the officer has a close interaction with the people, and I will explain what are the forms that this interaction takes. And then this is the first ever attempt at participatory grassroots level planning and decentralization. I will again come to what are the features of this. The only other thing I want to draw attention to is that this is a sustainable, long-drawn program, and we have already held 3 editions of this program so far. The first one from June 20th to 27, 2019. The second one from November 25 to 30, 2019. And the third one in October 2020. So it is not a one-off program. So this is just one picture of how the program has reached out to the farthest villages, hamlets, etc. Now, you might want to ask me, what is so great about a group of officers going and spending some time in the village? So I will list out 5 reasons why we think this program is extremely important, excellent in scope and scale. The first is the scale. Now, unlike most other programs, this is not a program which is confined to one panchayat, one village, or one district. This is a program which covers all the 4,480 panchayats of Jammu and Kashmir, all the districts of Jammu and Kashmir, all the gazetted officers of Jammu and Kashmir. So you have a situation whereby every officer a panchayat, every panchayat is visited by an officer, and such is the scale of the program that you have people using horses, you have people crossing rivers, you have people using boats, you have people walking on foot, and you have election type control rooms. So the logistics of the entire exercise are almost of the kind of election. Second, the context of the entire program is Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this is not any other normal state or union territory of the country. Just decide and hold the program. There are challenges of geography, there are challenges of weather, there are challenges of terrain, there are challenges of the security situation, and it is in this context, and it is in the context of these challenges that this program was conducted. In fact, to just give you a flavor of the challenge, in order to ensure that we have a secure program, a number of security meetings had to be held with different security agencies in order to ensure that the program could be successfully managed. What is the third feature of the program? The third feature is, as I said, this is a continuing and sustainable program, which means that the feedback from every one edition leads to the next edition. How is this so? The first Back to Village B2V1, which was held in June 2019, was exploratory in nature. When I mean exploratory, we asked officers to find out what are the problems of the village and the villagers, what are the infrastructural issues, what are the economic issues, what are the developments that people wanted to be brought about. So it was a so-called meet and greet program where officers broke the barriers of hierarchy and went to the village. Villagers gave up their hesitation and spoke to the officers directly about their program. So the feedback from the Back to Village 1 led to B2V2. And what was B2V2? B2V2 was a program on empowering panchayats. Unlike many other parts of the country, the 73rd and the 74th Amendment had not been fully implemented in Jammu and Kashmir. And B2V2 was the time when the panchayats, the grassroots level panchayats and the block development councils had just been instituted, just been started. So one of the important focus of the B2V2 was empowering panchayats. And what was it? How was it empowering panchayats? For example, the officers were asked to go and check the panchayat asset registers, make sure that the works were being allotted not by the officers but by the panchayat members. Also to make sure that the midday meal purchases and distribution were being done by and through the panchayat members only. Also to ensure that various social welfare benefits such as pensions, such as disability scholarships were being given through the panchayats and through the Gram Sabha meeting. So the feedback from B2V2 led to B2V3. Now what was B2V3? B2V3 was a program with an action agenda. It was not a program about exploration or empowerment. It was a program about action. And what do you mean action? We selected 5 themes on which we would be acting. What were these themes? The first theme was self-employment. We decided that in every panchayat, we would select 2 unemployed youth and give them assistance under one of the government loan schemes, under one of the government self-employment schemes. As it so happened, we ended up supporting more than 2. We ended up supporting 5 people per panchayat. The second action program was, we decided that at least one work which had been identified in the earlier editions of B2V would be completed and a new work would be taken up. What was the third agenda? The third agenda was what we called the Jan Adhikar Abhiyan. What was the Jan Adhikar Abhiyan? People would be able to access what was theirs, what was their adhikars, and what was these caste certificates, disability certificates, scholarship certificates, farad intikhab of their lands. So people would be able to, as a matter of adhikar, access their what was rightfully theirs. What was the fourth thing? The fourth thing was a public grievance program, a Jan Sunwai program. And what was the fifth thing? The fifth thing was doubling farmers' incomes through various interventions at the field level. And I will dwell a little in detail in the subsequent slides. Now, the other important thing about this program is that this is a program in which we have online monitoring, replicability, and institutionalization. I have just mentioned about replicability. We have held 3 editions of the program so far, each one feeding into the next one. Institutionalization, doing works through panchayats, online tendering, block divas are some of the institutions which have emerged out of this program. And how is this program being monitored online? I will just explain in a moment. So the other important thing about this program is that this is not a program where the senior officers simply order the junior officers. You see here how the Chief Secretary of the state himself is in the field participating in the Back to Village program, and so on and so forth with every gazetted officer. Now, you might still want to ask me, theek hai, maan liya, but why is this program an innovative program? Why are you saying that this is there is an element of innovativeness about it? Now, I have 4 reasons why it is innovative. Now, the first reason why it is innovative is that this is a structured and monitorable program. This is not a program where an officer goes to the field, eats some food, talks to the villagers and comes back. No, this is a program in which every visiting officer is given a schedule of activities. He is supposed to reach the village at 8 o'clock, click a photograph of himself, post it in the group. Then he is supposed to do a series of activities. Now, some of those activities are, he is supposed to visit every government building in the village. He is supposed to hold a meeting of the Gram Sabha, participate in the meeting of the Gram Sabha. He is supposed to participate in at least one sports activity. He is supposed to inaugurate at least one completed work. He is supposed to lay the foundation stone of at least one new work. He is supposed to have a fireside chat with at least 10 different respectables of the village. He is supposed to visit the Anganwadi center in the village. And this is all listed in the booklet which has been given to you. Now, this is not enough. He's also given a structured questionnaire which he is supposed to fill in fully. And the structured questionnaire has a large number of questions ranging from infrastructure to social welfare to economic activities in the village, and he has to bring it back. So this program is not just a visiting program. This is a structured and monitorable program. Now, the second innovative thing is that this is a program which is being monitored online, and I'll come to it in the next slide. The third thing is every edition of B2 Village, B2V, has a theme. There is a themed approach. Now, the first B2V, that is B2V1, was exploratory, whose theme was innovation, grassroots, and decentralized planning by studying the economic activities of the village. The second B2V Village program was a program aimed at empowering the panchayat. And the third Back to Village, B2V3, was a program with an action agenda with 5 distinct action points. The last and the most significant thing about Back to Village, that this is not a Sarkari event. This is not an event which the Chief Secretary orders and everybody goes. Now, there are any number of innovative elements built into this. I will give you a few examples. In one village, the collector decided to do a dangal, a wrestling match, which was a local activity. In another village, the collector decided to do a local Bhand Pathar performance, which is a local folk drama. In the third village, the collector decided to add a local heart or a local mela. So everywhere, the collectors added local elements to it, as a result of which the participation of people improved and interest of the people got encouraged in the program. Also, different government organizations held camps. For example, the Animal Husbandry Organization held one camp. The Social Welfare Department held another camp. So different government organizations held camps. Third, because meetings of the Gram Panchayat, Gram Sabha were held, the Panchayati Raj institutions got involved. So it became fourth, under Khelo India, a number of sports activities got added. So it was like 1,000 flowers blooming, where each of the 4,500 panchayats had some or the innovative element added to the program, depending on geography, depending on terrain, depending on the local conditions. Now, this is one example of a local dance program in the Jammu division being organized, and folk songs being organized as a part of this event. In addition, the collectors also made a large number of local additions. Now, this is an example of district Udhampur, where the collector used this occasion to start the launch of Jal Shakti Abhiyan. 100% coverage of eligible pension beneficiaries, 100% coverage of Ayushman Bharat, distribution of golden cards, School Chalo Abhiyan, enrollment of out-of-school children. So depending on what the problem in a particular village was or a particular district was, the collectors added their own layering to the program and made the program even more development-oriented. Now, I spoke to you about Back to Village 3 and the Jan Abhiyan. The Back to Village 3 was a massive action agenda, a Jan Abhiyan, resting on 3 pillars. The first pillar was Adhikar Abhiyan. I have spoken about it. Issuance of certificates, individual beneficiary schemes, Farad Intakhabs of the revenue. Then the second pillar was Unnat Gram Abhiyan, which was a developmental push at the grassroots level, starting new works, completing pending works. And the third one was a program of public grievances, a Jan Sunwai program. Now, there is another legitimate question that the jury might want to ask.
Sir, you have 2 more minutes to conclude.
Okay, I will try and conclude quickly. So, what have we achieved? So, very quickly, 20,000 developmental works were identified. 7,000 works have already been executed. Udhampur district got a bridge which had been pending for 3 decades. In Riyasi, a self-help group started lemongrass cultivation. 407 crore rupees were sanctioned for youth entrepreneurs through 19,655 loan cases, including 6,600 women entrepreneurs. And in the Jan Abhiyan category, Over 5 lakh certificates were given, 70,000 ration cards were seeded, 50,000 families got health insurance schemes. Now, how do you analyze this program? I spoke about online monitoring. Since time is short, now this is, we made portals. B2, V1 has one portal, B2 has another portal. Since I don't have time, I can't show you. But if I click here, the portal will come live and I can use that portal to do any kind of analysis. For example, if you ask me how many villages of the government of J&K are still without a Pakka road, I can tell you. How many schools are without its own building, I can tell you. How many houses do not have a piped water connection, I can tell you. So this data and what are the commonest problems in the village, I can tell you. What are the biggest demands of a particular panchayat, of a particular district? I can do any kind of analytics, panchayat wise, district wise. If you give me time, I can show you some of these, but I can do any kind of analytics. Similarly, districts have their own analytics. And I will just conclude by giving you a snapshot of what the Honorable Prime Minister said about this program in his Man Ki Baat. Oh, if you give me a second, I will just be able to show you the Honorable Prime Minister's this is what the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about us in his Back to Village program. I'm sorry, I don't seem to be getting the audio here correctly. And anyway, we are running out of time. So if you have extra, if you have some extra time, maybe I can bring out another version. And otherwise, I can also send my email across to the jury for them to peruse. So thank you very much. I am open to questions.
Very good presentation, I would say. You see, I have worked in J&K and I know how difficult it is to reach to the grassroots level.
Thank you,
So
sir.
my hats off to you if you people have really, through this initiative, if you have reached the villages, I am sure this must be helping you in also planning from the bottom, no?
Yes, sir.
Normally we used to call village development plans, no?
Absolutely.
So if your people are going there and be with the people, it must be helping you to develop these plans and reflect their aspirations in the planning.
Sir, absolutely. Actually, the data which is available, which I have fed into my portal, I can use that for analytics, and I can easily see how many villages don't have a Pakka road, how many villages don't have electricity connection, how many households do not have tap water. So Jal Shakti department can simply plug data and use this data.
Yeah.
And you can do any kind of analysis with that and planning with that.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I find that sometime, because of obvious reasons, our focus is more on Jammu region than on Kashmir region. No? So, because people do face difficulties administratively in moving to those tough areas. So, what is your experience?
Sir, as I mentioned in the very beginning, now this was a program which was carried out without exception, not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Ladakh, because when the program was started, Ladakh was a part of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
And in fact, the photograph which I showed you, the chief secretary who is now the chief secretary, but was then the secretary, himself volunteered to go to Ladakh to send a message that the senior most officer should go to the most difficult division. And the then chief secretary went to Gurez in Kashmir division again to send the message that the senior most people would go to the most difficult places. And in fact, Kashmir was received such an enthusiastic response that the people welcomed the visiting officers with open arms.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
Sir, as a result of visit of government officers to panchayats, there may be some or many such requirements, that posting of teachers, augmenting and upgrading public health infrastructure, roads, power requirement, integrate those requirements into the state budget.
Yes. In fact, thank you very much for this question. We received basically three kinds of demands. Now, the first demands were so-called soft demands. आंगनवाड़ी में आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर नहीं आ रहा है, स्कूल में टीचर नहीं आ रहा है, टीचर ने अटैचमेंट करवा ली है जिले के हेडक्वार्टर्स में, एम्बुलेंस नहीं है. These were one kind of demands. The second kind of demands were small local work. बिजली के ट्रांसफार्मर नहीं है, बिजली का खंबा नहीं है, पानी का नल नहीं है, रोड में डंगा नहीं है. And the third kind of demands were the big demands. सड़क बनानी है, ब्रिज बनाना है, hospital banana hai. These were three kinds of demands. So what we did was, the local level demands or the small demands, like ambulance not being available, school teacher not being available, were handled at the level of the deputy commissioner. In fact, one of the slides which I showed you about analysis was an example of the deputy commissioner holding a meeting, and after holding a meeting, resolving these local issues. The second was the local level demands like transformers, like village roads, etc., etc. Now, these are the 20,000 works which I mentioned, which have been identified, and 7,000 have already been executed. For the sake of transparency, we have made a booklet of each of these works. We have geotagged them, and we have placed this booklet on the website of the finance department. So even if you would like to access this booklet, you will be able to see which village, which panchayat, date on which the work was started, date on which the work was completed, how much money was spent. So I have a complete back to village list of works available transparently. And the third kind of programs are the large programs, which I mentioned to you. For example, Udhampur district not having a bridge, which the Lieutenant Governor then sanctioned as a result of the recommendations of all of us. In fact, I had gone to Udhampur district as back to village, and one of my recommendations was this bridge, and the government was very kind to sanction. So in one sense, the problems projected by the villagers are finding some resonance or the other in the works which are being executed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.